evening and welcome to Inside Government, a show brought to you by Community College and broadcast on Spectrum, Verizon Fios, the Auburn Regional Media Access, as well as the college's radio station, Win 89.1. I'm the host of this show, Guy Cosentino. We're delighted to have in the studio Superintendent of Schools Jeff Pirozzolo. Mr. Pirozzolo has been superintendent for 5 years with the Auburn District and was recently given an extension. We've asked him on, as we normally do in early February or mid-February, to talk about what is going on with the governor's budget that is proposed for 2020-2021, which will be adopted most likely in the next 40 days. And then the district will put their vote before the public in May to approve a budget. So we're asked him to come on and talk about that, a couple of other issues that are impacting the district. Welcome back.
Mr. Cosentino, always a pleasure to be on.
So it's nice to have you here. So how did you make out in the governor's budget?
Well, according to him, spectacular.
Okay, so let's not give his spin.
Okay, all right.
We'll start with your spin.
So,
or the reality check.
Right. So right now we're going to be proposing an $81.5 million budget. That's what we're going to be going out with this year. We got an increase in foundation aid of $350,000 is all.
So $350,000 sounds like a lot, but based on a lot of different factors, is that what you would normally expect? What did you get last year, roughly?
Total over $800,000.
So it's not a cut, but it's a cut in growth.
It is.
So you're still getting what you got last year. This is $350 on top of it.
Correct.
So normally I would say this is a even number year. So usually what happens is the legislature tends to pad the budget and give more money. Is that your expectation?
Usually they do.
In even number years, when they're up for re-election, they tend to do it.
The governor's pretty tricky in what he's doing this year. He's rolling a lot of things into foundation aid. So we used to get a line item called community schools aid.
Okay.
We're getting an increase of $175,000 in community schools. That can only be used for specific things. We are going to use it to increase and hire 2 more social workers, but he included that in foundation aid this year. So now it makes it look like we got $525,000 in foundation aid. And again, that's only a 1.67%.
But the bottom line number is you're looking at a $350 for what you can use in that particular case.
Correct.
So if you had looked at past trends, forget the whole foundation aid mathematics, what would you have expected to be in his first release of his budget?
Yeah, usually it's between $350 and $500.
So he's on the low side.
Yeah, he's on the low side. Last year, though, we did. You know that they always adjust their budget, and they'll come out again with the official budget, hopefully on April 1st. And we always get an increase. Last year, we did get a great increase. It was up over $800,000.
And it just seems like an odd year, but last year there was not a large structural deficit for the state.
Correct.
And so, and that's for a different show, and that's not necessarily you, but that does impact what you get overall.
Absolutely it does.
So I'm going to kind of skip over a couple things. I know you took a group of students, and they're going to be here in about 10 days.
Yes.
2 weeks, in fact. They're going to be here. But you took a group of students to Albany 2 weeks ago for what?
We just went to go advocate. So we have a...
You don't lobby, you advocate.
We advocate, yeah, that's right. What an experience for our students, too.
So how many went?
There was 80 students went.
And did anybody, I'm sure there were chaperones, but were there other people, other advocates with that 80 students?
We had board members.
Okay.
We had 4 or 5 board members with us. Of course, we had teachers. Mm-hmm. We had some parents with us. There was.
And this was a normal school day.
It was a normal school day. It was a field trip.
So what did they do?
We first of all we went on the stairs, the $1 Million Stairway.
I saw a great photo with the Wood girls all holding a banner.
Yep, and Senator Helming met us there, and we did some chanting. They were chanting. They were reading some. Some of the students wrote actual papers and read them, and we streamed them all live on our website and on our advocacy.
And can somebody go back to your website now and see the
Absolutely, they could. After that, we broke into 2 groups, and we went and met with different senators and assemblymen, and that was
So at that time, we had 2 senators. We should have 3, but Mr. Antonacci is not there.
Correct.
And there's a special election there, so we have 2 senators, 2 assemblymen. Did they, assembly members, is that who they met with?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. And a representative from the governor's office.
Okay.
We wanted the governor, but he wasn't there, so he sent out one of his reps. But our kids spoke well. They asked great questions. They had great questions.
So what was your hope? What was it? Was it the hope to have them participate in the process, or was it to have them? I'm assuming what they said to Senator Helming, or Senator Seward, or Assemblyman Finch, they're all on board with.
They are. They are.
They're also in the minority.
Right. And we also got to talk to Senator Mayer.
Okay.
Which is really beneficial for
Education
us.
chair?
Yep,
Okay.
the educational chair. And she gets it too. She understands where Auburn's
So
at.
on that particular day, were there a lot of districts there that day?
No.
Oh.
No, there was not. It was there was a lot of police officers there for bail reform.
Okay.
But we were
Trying to get a show on that next week, but we're
Yeah.
working on that front.
So we were really the only school district there at the time, which was really nice.
And so a couple days later, you had some of those same students meet with a representative of the Department of Education, correct? Did you have somebody else come to Auburn?
The head of the teachers union came,
Okay.
NICET.
Okay.
They came,
NICET, okay.
Yes, they came. They did a walkthrough at Seward Elementary School, and then we did a round table at the high school library. A couple of the students sat on that committee along with teachers, administrators, board members, and I'll tell you that was fantastic as well. Ian Phillips set up NICET leaders coming.
He works for them. He's a member of the Board of Education,
Correct.
but he also works for them.
Correct. He's a political organizer for them. They started in Syracuse. They did a walkthrough at Syracuse, and then they came into Auburn, and it was wonderful.
What do you hope occurs with all this?
Right now, fully funding our foundation aid would bring $6.2 million to Auburn.
And are you any closer on that?
No, we're really not. It seems like the gap is getting bigger. It seems like school districts around us are receiving more each year, making the gap even bigger.
So do you think you have a legal argument for this?
Well, it is in the court system. Small city school districts have filed
And is Auburn part of that suit?
We are not.
So that's where I'm going with it. So
Yep. So the lawsuit started back in about 2009, 2010. And there's 5 small city school districts that are involved in that. It went to court. The first ruling, favored small city school districts. It went to appeal. Then it was in favor of the state. And now we're at the appellate court again.
And when do they think they'll get a
Well,
decision?
we thought we were going to have it a couple of years ago, but it
Okay.
still hasn't come out.
So I asked this question because this is a double-edged sword. And I'm reading a book right now about Elon Musk and how he ended up suing the federal government. And short-term victory, long-term victory, but in the middle it got kind of dicey.
Right.
So has there been thought from the Auburn district that maybe we just need to file suit?
Again, we haven't had that conversation, but that's what we're hoping is going to come out of the small city
So
school district.
yours is a wait and see if that.
Correct.
Because you have to pay for lawyers.
Correct. And they spend a lot of money on this lawsuit. And the pieces is if small city school districts do win that court appeal, that we will get funded. They might be able to get back money owed, but we would get the money moving on forward.
Okay. But maybe not back.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So where are you in your budget process right now?
Right now, we're presenting each different component of the budget. We're looking at different pieces. We actually just figured out what our 2% tax cap will be. We just got the information on last Friday. So our 2% tax cap, our levy will be about 1.67. That is the maximum we can go out for.
$1.67 million.
1.67%.
1.67%. Okay. Let's
Correct.
Just make sure. Okay.
Yes.
So usually at this time, you are, well, frankly, when you come here in November, you usually have a number. You have a ballpark number of where you are deficit-wise.
Yep.
This time, you usually have a clearer number. It might be smaller. Hopefully, it's smaller. I think last year at this time, it was about $2.5 million.
Right.
What is your
1.1 million.
So where does that come from?
This money will come out of reserves. Again, we do have reserves that we can use.
So how much is your fund balance right now?
4% of our budget. So
Okay.
about
Does it stay floating around 4%?
the maximum amount that you can have is 4%, and we try to keep it right at 4%.
So by closing that gap of 1.1, you can usually do it by a couple of ways. You can raise taxes. Well, your 1.67% is on that. What will 1.67 give you?
About $530,000.
So not a lot of money.
No.
Okay. It is a lot of money, but it's not in a scheme
not
of
at
81
million. Yeah,
okay.
right.
So you can cut,
Yeah.
or you can find other revenue, which you're not in that position right now. So do you see the 1.1 closing it with fund balance means that you will not have to make cuts?
We will not be making cuts this year.
Okay.
We'll be able to cover that with reserves. Again, the 1.67%, we have not even discussed as a board yet. We just got that number. We'll be having that discussion probably this evening about what our maximum amount that we can go out for, and that is 1.67. But the board will set what the tax levy will be for this vote, and we hopefully will have that figure finalized by March.
And so you'll be ready to present, you have a budget vote in May. Your budget will be presentable most likely mid to late April after
Correct.
the break. And I know you and Lisa Green will come back on then.
Yeah, we'll have all the, right now, like I said, if all things staying status quo, we're at about a $1.1 million deficit, which we'll be able to pick up with reserves, which means we won't have to cut any programs, nothing.
And so last year, did you have to go into fund balance?
We did. We went into reserves last year,
Just
yes.
the same?
Yep, same thing. Again,
So at this point, the board has not decided on that?
No, we have not done anything. But to cover $1.1 million, you're right, there's ways about trying to find other revenue sources, which is difficult for school districts, because really our revenue sources come from taxes and foundation aid. Right. So you can do staff cuts or reserves.
So you'll have a budget meeting tonight, a school board meeting, and the next process is what's the rest of the process now?
So we'll continue to do our presentations at the board meetings on the budget. We've already had one workshop where we've already talked about using reserves to make up the deficit. We'll probably have another budget workshop in March, probably April, because we'll wait and see when the final budget comes in, because once that comes in...
Yeah, school break this year is earlier in April.
It is.
Almost at the beginning of the month.
Correct.
Okay.
And so we'll have another board workshop. We'll try to finalize everything then, and then we'll come in and we'll be able to give you the exact picture.
So you work on other stuff than budget.
We do.
So I got an email yesterday, and somebody asked me about the website greatschools.org, great schools being one word, .org. Have you ever heard of that site?
I have not heard of it.
Okay. So they take information about districts, and they don't necessarily put it on graduation rates, because I know that's a big factor for you and how you rate in other stuff. But they figure out rates, and so they gave a grade to Auburn and a comparable district in their view by geography. Let's put it geography, not necessarily comparable aid-wise or everything else, is Skaneateles for college preparatory.
Oh, okay.
They gave Auburn a 4 out of 10. They gave Skaneateles 10 out of 10, getting students ready for school. First of all, on that general concept, without not having seen the website, but also on just the general concept, you think that's fair?
Oh, absolutely not. You're comparing apples to oranges.
Why are they apples and oranges?
Again, we talk about the state aid formula. When school districts can spend $25,000 and more on children, where Auburn can only spend $17,000 on children, it's not a fair game.
So I know it's not a fair game, and I agree with that. But then this is the person's other question. If I'm somebody coming in from outside, I'm moving into central New York, or I'm moving into Auburn because I've got a job somewhere here, wherever, and I have to look, and I have a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old or a 16-year-old, why would I pick Auburn versus Skaneateles?
Well, if you're basing it off of a website, then I think there's other issues there, because
Okay.
anything that you read on websites, I don't take as
Okay.
factual. I think if you come in and visit Auburn and you meet the people and our staff and see what our school district has to offer, I'll just give you a comparison. And again, not trying to come off defensive, but
No, this was an interesting viewer question.
It's a great question.
Who asked the question? And, you have real estate agents who will say it's in this district, in this school, and that's a big factor.
I worked with real estate agents because
Okay.
I think the number one decision on moving into a community like Auburn is, if you have small children, school district should be the number one reason why
Right.
you're moving in. But I'll give you a comparison. I have 2 children in college right now. They both graduated with 4 credits, college credits. I have a junior right now, my son Luca. He's graduating with 40 credits next year. If he passes everything again.
He's a bright kid. He gets it
But-
from his mother.
but yes,
we
he
always say
certainly-
that.
He certainly does. But my point is I've had so many families come up to me and say, do you know my child only had to go to college for 3 years or 3.5 years because of all the college courses?
So I look at, and you obviously know I work at the foundation here, and not mix and matching, but a lot of the Auburn students come here. They are only here presidential scholars a year or a year and a half because they do have that.
Correct.
And that happens with a lot. So I thought it was a good question that somebody.
It is a great question. And again, even for us not receiving, again, $6.2 million. We have school districts in our county that their foundation aid limit is set and they receive more than their set limit. We're $6.2 million under. And in our results still, we continue to climb. We did take a step back with our graduation rate last year.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, again, I think it's an anomaly.
Okay.
Because we've gone up every year for like the last, 8-9 years. I do think it was an anomaly. But with less, we're still doing more. And I think that's really important. But imagine what we could do if we were properly funded, what our students, the programs we could continue to add, the staff that we could continue to add, the support services we could continue to add. Those are the things that you look at.
So I have 2 more sets of viewer questions. The next one is, what is an assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction? What do they do? What are they responsible for?
They are in charge of all the curriculum and instruction that goes on in our district. So they are pre-K to 12, every curriculum, grade level, department, they're in charge of all the curricular material that our students learn.
And so you lost a person in that position, Krista Martin. She
Yeah.
has left. Why did she leave?
She's resigned her position and has moved on.
And you have replaced her, at least temporarily, with somebody I think the world of, Leela George.
No, we actually hired a new assistant
You
superintendent.
did? Okay,
Yes.
but there was a...
Leela George came in as an interim, yeah.
She did, okay.
Yeah.
So is Leela George still doing work for the district?
She is still helping us with some of the grants and the transition for the new person.
And so who is the new person?
Sarah Capelli.
Okay, and where's she from and what's she doing?
She was a principal for the Syracuse City School District,
Okay.
Bellevue Elementary School. And she's from Geneva, and she just started last Monday.
All right, and moving on to another question. A couple of months ago, this is another question that came in. A couple of months ago, there was a decision to reduce SROs at the high school. You have currently an SRO who floats at the elementary school, 1 at the junior high, and at that time 2 at the high school.
Correct.
One person was going out on maternity leave, if I remember, I read the paper correctly. You were not going to fill that position for that time period, correct?
Correct.
That has since changed, am I
Correct.
correct? Okay, so what's going on?
So again, because of the shortage of police officers that are, unfortunately, our Auburn Police Department are facing their, I believe, 12 officers down. They really didn't have another patrolman to give to the school district, which, understand, our community needs to be safe as well.
So who pays for the SROs? Does it,
We do. The school district does.
So you have a contract that goes how long?
We have 1 more year left in
So
the
what do you
contract.
think we'll come back to that.
Okay.
So you were going to be down a person.
So
there was some feedback from the public that this was right around the time there had been a shooting.
Correct.
I think there were 2 shootings in one state, like 2 days after.
Correct.
So there was some negative feedback from the public. How did you resolve it?
Well, and again, the feedback is, again, the shootings were out in the community. So if our community's not safe, our schools aren't going to be safe as well. So, you've got to make sure you're looking at the big picture. Auburn is one of the only schools in New York State that I know that have 2 SROs at their high school.
Okay.
Except for like your big 5.
Okay.
Syracuse
Big
City.
5 cities.
Yeah,
Okay.
Syracuse, Buffalo, Rochester. I know that they have multiple officers. But most school districts, even some of the big ones in Syracuse, have one SRO for the whole district. So we're very fortunate with what we have. I've never worked in a city school district. I worked in Elmira. I worked out in Rochester. We only had 1 SRO in our building there. So, as far as having an SRO, that's my main concern. Having 2 of them was not my main concern. But what we've done is we were working out how to solve the problem. So Chief Butler was going to continue to go through the recruitment phase. As you know, they gave the test.
Right.
Hoping
he was on here a year ago where they were just trying to recruit.
Right, and they're having difficulty with it.
As is, and we should say that's just not Auburn. That's all law enforcement.
It is all law enforcement.
And I was at the Elbridge Library the other day, and they've got signs up for court security.
I know.
It's
just
just
everywhere.
tough to get.
It's everywhere. So his goal was to have somebody in as soon as he possibly could. Reality set pace that said it'll probably be in September before we got that second officer back. But Chief Butler and Sergeant Dan got a hold of me about a month ago and said they're moving forward. So we do have another officer, Officer Gilfus, who just started at our high school.
So you have 2 officers
on Monday. So now we will be back at 2 officers at our high school.
And so I mentioned you have a contract with the city. How long does that contract go till next year?
Yeah, we have 1 more year with it.
So do you think at this point you will continue that? Because I know a number of schools are looking to outsource either to sheriff's departments
Correct.
or to bring in their own security, whether they're retired police officers or military people or private contractors. Where are you in that realm in your own mind?
I'm in a mix.
Okay.
I've spoken with Chief Butler and Sergeant Dan about the.
Do they want to continue it?
I believe they want to continue it, but they want to also make sure that they have the personnel to be able to. So if we could do a mixture where maybe we only have 2 police officers and then we could hire some retirees, that would really be a great way.
So you might see that hybrid.
Some type of hybrid model in the future, I'm hoping.
And when will you have to make that decision?
Well, again, we got 1 more year with the contract.
So when you say 1 more year, is
the following school year, 2020-21 school year.
So that is this fall into the.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So I usually ask you this at the very end because this comes up that you now are in the process right now in the next week or the week after, people can pick up petitions.
I brought all the dates.
So when
with
can they start picking up petitions?
So on March 23rd.
So March 23rd.
About a month from now.
They can start picking up petitions, and what do they have to do to qualify?
They have to live in Auburn. They don't even have to be a registered voter.
Okay.
As long as they've lived here, I think it's 60 days, 30, 60, 90 days. But as long as they're a resident.
So who's up this year?
We have 3 candidates up this year. It's Eli Hernandez, Rhoda Overstreet Wilson, and Joe Shepard.
And do you know if any of them are running or not running?
From the gossip around, I believe that they're all planning on rerunning.
So separating them out for a second, what do you look for in somebody who wants to? I know it's about the kids, and I know it's about higher ed or about education. What type of qualities are you looking for? Not that you get to pick the candidates,
right.
But if somebody's thinking about it, what are the types of qualities they should be looking at themselves to run?
Again, child-centered is absolutely number 1. We're looking for people that have new, innovative ways that, we can bring revenue in with funding and those pieces. But we're looking for people that education is part of their life. They want better for their kids. They want better for the community. We want people that will be excited and challenged with being on the Board of Education. The thing with the board is it's not just 2 meetings a month.
So what is the time commitment?
So we do have 2 meetings a month, but we also have a lot of subcommittees. There's a lot of activities. We want somebody that's going to be involved and engulfed in our school communities. That's what we're looking for.
And there's the occasional trip to Albany.
And yes, occasional trip to advocate. We've got policy committee, advocacy committee, curriculum and instruction committee, facilities committee.
So this is an unpaid position.
It is.
Which I think is a crime.
It is.
But that being aside, people can go pick up petitions, and they have to submit them by the end of April.
April 21st.
And then we're
no, I'm sorry, they're due by April 29th.
29th, and we're going to have a forum here.
Correct.
After that. So last question is about, you're just getting back from break, not you necessarily, because I know you were around, because you followed up with some emails.
Yes.
So we talked about this a year ago, but there was an editorial the other day in the Post-Standard, I think it was an editorial, about getting rid of the winter break again. Why do we have 2 breaks?
I'd love to get rid of the winter break.
So why not? Can you just not arbitrarily do it?
Yes, I guess we could arbitrarily do that. Winter breaks were set back years ago. They thought school districts were going to save millions of dollars
on energy costs,
shutting the schools down and having energy costs. We're open. We've got sports going on. We're still working. The problem with one school district doing it is it throws off all of our schedules because of all the kids that go to BOCES.
Okay, so
all the sporting events.
So all 9 of you would have to agree.
It would be the only way that it really could work because other kids would be moving it.
So of your fellow 8 districts.
9.
No.
The other 8, yes.
Where are they on this?
We don't really have much. We have more conversation
about money.
Debating when April break is going to be.
It's a miracle here. You and the college are on the same. It's the first time in 5 years you're on at the same time. So, we think that's a stunner right here.
So we have more debates over when they're going to be versus not having it at all. But I even have high school staff members that do not like the full weeks off because, like in math, you take a full week, you lose it, and I think eventually the schools are going to have to.
So, bottom line question: will you resolve the winter break issue before you resolve foundation aid?
Great question. Oh, that's great.
I do want to thank the superintendent of schools, Jeff Pirozzolo, for joining us. He is going to be back in about 2 weeks with several of the students and advocates to talk about their trip to Albany, talk about their meeting with the NYSUT people, and we're looking forward to that because we always like to have young people in the studio.
The students make it.
So we're delighted to have him. Thank you again for your time here.
Thank you.
He will be back also on at the end of April with Lisa Green to talk about the budget. We'll be back in just a moment with another edition of Inside Government with Cuyahoga County Health Department Public Health Director Kathleen Cuddy and Supervising Nurse Kevin Zippel to discuss communicable diseases, especially the outbreak of hepatitis A across the nation, the coronavirus that we're reading about a lot about, as well, and impacting our 401ks, as well as the flu season that is impacting us now. We'll be back on Thursday with a special edition of Beyond the Front Page. I will not be in the studio this Thursday. We're going to have Bob Frame, who is the Director of Theater Operations here at the college, interview New Perspectives Theater Company Artistic Director Melody Brooks, who will be presenting 3 plays here at the college in the Bisgrove Theater on Friday, February 28th and 29th, including Suffragettes from the Stage. These are 2, in fact, there'll be 3 plays altogether, both nights. Tune in on Thursday to listen to their discussion. In the coming weeks, we will have all 3 Democratic congressional candidates, Dana Balter, Francis Canola, and Roger Miso, as well as we've offered equal time to incumbent Congressman John Kakko. We'll also be having a discussion hopefully next week on bail reform and on the criminal justice system, as well as local government budgets. We'll also be back with our spring Auburn At-Large School District Forum. We'll have a special election forum for the 50th Senate District because that seat is now open. And then we'll have all 3 Democratic congressional candidates, we hope, back here at the end just before the Auburn School District Forum to figure out who is taking on John Kakko. If you have any thoughts for guests or ideas for shows, you can contact us at Inside Government or Beyond the Front Page at COZGUYTHO@AOL.com or Inside Government, 141 Dunning Avenue, Auburn, New York. I'm Guy Cosentino for the college. We want to thank you for watching. Have a good night, have a great tomorrow, but stick around for another edition of Inside Government on Public Health. No, there was on, I don't know if you saw, did you see the editorial?
No.
So I didn't get to read it. I saw the headline, but it was, I think it was the Syracuse papers were asking